I'm Georgina, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about my experience travelling abroad on my gap year. So, I was born in Scotland, I've lived in Scotland my whole life, and I have moved to Honduras. I've been here for 9 months so far. I have another few months left to go, and I've had such an amazing time. There obviously have been some ups and some downs, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the differences I've experienced personally. So, the main one is that obviously here in Honduras they speak in Spanish, which is not my first language, and I've really enjoyed learning Spanish. So I did have a good background, I did have a good base to start with. So my dad has learned Spanish. It's not his first language either, but growing up I did experience quite a bit of that, and I have learned quite a few different words just from living with my dad. But I did study Spanish for a little bit in school, but learning from a textbook wasn't really, it didn't give me much motivation to speak a language fluently. But since being here, it very much has, because I just feel like it's so exciting being able to speak to people, being able to say new words and phrases, being able to speak a bit faster and have a nice conversation. I remember one of the first moments when I made a joke in Spanish, and it was just so exciting for me because I actually I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to think about what I was saying, and it just made me really excited because that had never happened before, and something just came out my mouth without thinking, and that was very much a sign for me. I'm like, oh, I'm really getting better, because if I went back to this time last year, I would not. Like, the only word I would say in Spanish would be sí. I would just say yes. Like, that would be it. I would not. I just did not have confidence in that at all. But I have really enjoyed the language learning process. And I also particularly like when you're in the streets, you can greet people like all the time. Like in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, just all the time you greet people in the street, which you can sometimes do in the UK too, especially if you live in the countryside, or if you're like going for a walk on the countryside, or if you live in a village or something. It does happen quite a lot, but just in the city or something like that, like it's not really gonna happen. So I have enjoyed that part of the culture. However, sometimes there are just these random men that just like say hi to you, but like they just sort of do it in like a catcalling kind of way, which sometimes isn't the best. But for me, when I get it in Spanish, I don't really care that much. I don't know. It seems like the having like the language thing, it just doesn't feel that deep to me. And sometimes if I'm with someone and they hear us speaking in English, sometimes they try and speak to us in English. Like, usually no one doesn't with me, only if I'm with, like, I don't know, a white person or something, because people think I'm Honduran. Sometimes before I speak, before I open my mouth, they think I'm Honduran. So I don't get it to a crazy extent. But sometimes when people just shout, "Hey, beautiful," out the window, it's kind of, I don't know. I feel, to me, like personally, I feel like it's more weird when they do it in English rather than when they do it in Spanish. I don't know why. I guess it's because they're sort of going out their way to make sure that we understand what they're saying, because obviously English is not their first language here. So yeah, that does sort of feel a bit weird when they do it in English, but that's only happened to me twice, I think, and that's just been when I've been with white people, and they've heard us speaking in English. Like, yeah, if I'm just, I don't know, living my life, then they don't really say in English, which I'm very grateful for. So I'm grateful that I'm half Jamaican, half Scottish. So I guess, I don't know, that just for some reason makes me appear Honduran. They think I'm Honduran, but whatever. But when I speak though, they don't. They don't. They can tell I'm foreign when I speak for sure. But that's okay. I don't really mind. Another thing that I've actually really enjoyed about the Honduran way is the food. I love the food so much. Sometimes, because I'm vegetarian, sometimes it can be a little bit hard. So usually I just go to restaurants just to socialize. I don't really choose to go to restaurants to actually eat food unless I really want something like a baleada. If I want a baleada, then I'd probably like, yeah, I would just go to a restaurant, but like, I don't know, it's sort of hard being vegetarian because like in baleadas it's like a tortilla, it has beans and cheese and this cream, and it's just a tortilla folded in half. But yeah, like they have that usually. They have pupusas, which are El Salvadorian, and it's like this little flat sometimes it's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's pastry, but it's kind of like that. And it's not tortilla either. I don't know. Like some sort of, they kind of make it into like a dough type thing. It can be crispy, it can be soft, sort of depends. And it has cheese, it's almost like mozzarella inside. Depends which ones you get. And then it has another one on top. You dip it in this sauce. They're very nice too. But usually that's what I have if I am having something, because it's just vegetarian. There are lots of other things you can have, but have meat in them. So, for example, they have tamales, which doesn't have meat. It's like corn. It's like, I don't really know. There's kind of nothing else I've had that's like that, but it's very nice anyway. And montucas, which are basically like tamales. It's like corn and kind of like a dough type thing. It's not really dough. It's in like a thing anyway. I don't really know how else to describe it. And then montucas usually have chicken inside. Sometimes they have other meat, but usually chicken, I would say. And I've heard they're very nice too. So I do absolutely love that. The food is very nice. But yeah, sometimes it can be hard to get vegetarian stuff. So sometimes it's pretty repetitive. Every time I go out, I'd have like a baleada or a pupusa. That's kind of it usually. But that's okay with me. I mean, usually I just cook for myself. I do enjoy cooking anyway. It just takes up a bit of time, but I like it. So that's what I usually do. And the last and final thing is the school. I love volunteering. I love working at the school. Sometimes it can be pretty challenging. Sometimes I feel like the days are just so long and I just want to go home and go into my bed. I do absolutely love the students though. They're so sweet. They're absolutely adorable. So sometimes, like, especially when they learn your name, they're like, Miss Georgina! And they're so cute. Like, they just run up to you and hug you, and they're adorable. So today, the time of recording this, we were painting with them, and they had paint all over their hands. They had paint all over the classroom, all over themselves. It was insane. It was such a funny, like, there was just this one student that came up to me just like, Miss, she just looked at me and said, my paint's on the floor. And I was like, oh, you're so cute. And she was like sad, and I didn't want to like make her cry or anything. I just had to laugh. I couldn't, like, there was just paint everywhere. It was insane. But I took her to the bathroom and got her cleaned up, and yeah, it was just pure chaos, but it was so fun. And the kids, they're just so sweet. At the end, when we had to clean up after the paint, they had paint all over their hands, and they're like, Miss, and they're trying to touch me. I'm like, no, no, fists, fists, T-Rex hands. We're gonna keep our hands like this. We're not gonna touch anything until we've washed our hands. Because, like, I did not, because I wear a white shirt. We have like the uniform is like white and navy. And yeah, I have a white shirt, so I did not want paint on that. I, of course, got paint on that, because when you're with first grade, you're always going to get paint on you if they're painting. But no, it was fun anyway. Like, obviously, there are the ups and downs. Next time, I can talk about some of the struggles that I've had whilst being here. But for today, that's 3 things that are things about my experience abroad. So if you like this, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!